but Steve Arrington also, played a major role in gospel groove, in my opinion. Like, there's just something about those records that I mentioned that just make you feel like everything's going to be cool. I'm going to have a good time. I mean, I'm still going to hope that whoever is up there overseeing this works it all out, but I'm not going to sit here and just worry myself to death about it either. Welcome to day 29, finish line. We are almost there of the Black Music Month 30 series here on the Groove Line. I am your host, Chris Stevens. Hopefully you are doing well out there this fine Sunday morning. If this is your first time tuning in, the Groove Line is a music podcast / YouTube show where I and eventually other guests will discuss music from the past, present, and future with an aim towards R&B, funk, jazz, disco, house, hip hop, electro, boogie, sometimes rock. We'll cover a lot of ground here, so stick around. Be sure to subscribe, tap that notification bell so be notified of all the new content that drops on this channel. And don't forget to like and comment on the videos. We really have good comments in the conversations, and the more likes and comments we get, the more eyes and ears, fix these headphones, so these ears and more ears can be on this channel. So thank you all for tuning in. It's Sunday morning. I really thought long and hard about how I wanted to close out these last 2 days, and Monday is going to be a special day. Because yes, I'm doing 2 albums in one day, and then I'm going to close the month out with a nice little thought about Black music and other things related to that. But today, I thought about this, and it reminded me of how much I am not a religious person. And I'm not going to preach to you guys about how I'm not a big fan of preachy people, because that would be kind of counterproductive. But I can't sit here and say that the music I listen to doesn't have feel-good gospel type elements to it. I am quick to agree that everybody that can sing, everybody that can play an instrument from back in the day, they definitely got their start in church. And the church is the foundation of Black music in this country. Not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. But church in itself, just something that I outgrew very, very young. Like I've not attended regular church services since I was 17. But I thought about that, and I thought about someone who has a very extensive history of making funky, groovy records that make a joyful noise unto the Lord. I'm talking about Mr. Stephen Ralph Arrington. Of course, the lead singer of Slave for a time, had his own band, Steve Arrington's Hall of Fame. Then, of course, went solo and then gave up that pop career to be a pastor and returned in the 21st century with new and improved grooves. And Steve, to me, is probably what I would call a gospel groover. Like listening to some of the stuff that he put out before he walked away from the music business to preach and serve and all of that stuff. It's really fun music to listen to, but it doesn't sound super preachy, but you get the message of it. Because Steve Arrington's Hall of Fame, let's start there. That album came out, part 1 came out in 1983, and that one is best known for Weak at the Knees, and that has no gospel elements to it whatsoever. That is a dude trying to mac a woman down. I'm your man. I make you weak at the knees. My generation, those of us who are elder millennials and baby Gen Xers, know it best as the sample for Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri's Money Ain't a Thing. But another song on Steve Arrington's Hall of Fame Part 1 is very, very inspirational and motivational. The title itself alone is worth the price of admission. Nobody can be you but you. It's really that simple. And when you think about the 80s, when you think about 1983, this was a time when the in crowd really was like, peer pressure was really a thing. Like, when drugs really were out of control everywhere. People want to put that on the Black community, but white people were doing drugs in the 80s too. Don't get it twisted. But drugs, alcohol, sex, peer pressure really could get the best of a young person. But Steve Arrington is saying nobody can be you but you. Don't follow somebody else's style. It could all change in a while. That's the first 2 bars of the first verse. It's really self-explanatory. I mean, you don't have to follow anybody else to live a fulfilling life. You can do whatever you want to do what feels right to you, and still be a decent person and still be a cool person. People, your crowd, your your circle will find you. You don't have to jump in somebody else's circle. That's what Steve Arrington is saying on Nobody Can Be You But You. And I mean, the beat itself, I mean, there's this nice little drum kick. I mean, there's a bass. I mean, because obviously coming from the slave camp, Steve Arrington, the bass had to be strong. And, there's this nice little guitar, and I don't know if that's a synth horn or a real horn, but listening to Nobody Can Be You But You, I mean, there's all sorts of elements. It's not really electro. It's really like a leftover sort of track from when bands were still bands. Like, this record came out in 83. So I would say this sounds sort of like 1980, 81-ish, maybe 1982. But it doesn't sound out of place because Steve Arrington had this arranged in such a way that it still fit for 1983. And again, the message is just absolutely brilliant. Nobody can be you but you. I mean, why not? I'll just sing it. Nobody can be you but you. I'm probably going to listen to that when I finish recording this, by the way. Nobody can be you. Yeah, just a wonderful song. But what came next for Steve Arrington was an official solo album in 1985, Dancin in the Key of Life. And the first single off of that, Feels So Real. It's still probably one of the top 15 or 20 black songs in 1985, in my personal opinion. And 1985 was a really good year. Really good year. We'll get more into that later on, down the line on the Groove Line. But, Feel So Real, it's literally a song that just says, he says, doing the best that I can do is more than enough for you. That's basically all God says, all the time. If you follow scripture and service and all that, God just says, love, be kind, do all of that stuff. And Steve Arrington is like saying, that's what I can do. And there's the part in the second verse where he's like, I'm right here on my knees, thankful for the air that I breathe. Like, he's praying, thanking God for another day. I mean, it's really simple. People misconstrue that as like a love song. I mean, the title track itself, because Steve Arrington says, not a care in the world, dancing in the key of life with my favorite girl. And it's like, all right, so he's talking about a girl, but he's also talking about God on that song too. So you can't go wrong with music that makes you dance, but also sort of has a message to it that doesn't feel preachy or overstated or looking down your nose at anyone. And I think Steve Arrington delivered on those counts, because by the time that record came out in 1985, I mean, life was in shambles. I mean, people were doing harder stuff. I mean, weed had given way to cocaine, which eventually gave way to crack. I mean, crack had really started to become a thing. They called it freebasing back in the day, when you would put cocaine in like a pipe and smoke it, and they would call it freebasing. Don't ask me how I know this. Actually, go ahead and ask me how I know this. I mean, I'm a research nerd. I've never done crack. I don't do any drugs, so I'm clean. I'm good. But, just learning how, people went from snorting to smoking, and it's like, golly. I'll never forget reading David Ritz's autobiography, his memoirs with Marvin Gaye, when Marvin looks at David Ritz, really ashamed about the pipe. 1985 was rough. I mean, we had the AIDS crisis. People were the homophobia was out of control with that. You had the war on drugs. And even though crack was starting to become a problem, it was still an easy out. It was still an easy out for white people and the government to say, we got to get these Negroes off the street. So let's put drugs in their communities and then blame them for it and put them all in jail and give them life sentences. So songs like Feel So Real and Dancing in the Key of Life were sort of things that you needed to hear for your own sanity if you were an adult at that time, I would believe anyway. Like kids, I mean, kids were affected by it too. I mean, I know a lot of Gen Xers and, elder millennials who have just, who lost people to either addiction or selling or hustling. And that's a tough life to live, man. I mean, and you have songs like, and you have an upbeat song that's telling to just rely on your faith, but still have a good time while you're relying on your faith. That's an undefeated combination. And Steve Arrington came through with that, twice in the decade, 3 times actually. But he ended up, going away from the music industry and becoming a pastor, a reverend, and just devoting his life solely to God. Then he came back in the early 2010s doing stuff with Dame Funk, the criminally underrated Dame Funk, by the way. If you like modern elements of 80s funk, listen to Dame Funk, y'all. You won't be disappointed. It's spelled DAMFUNK. And I think it's either a sentence. No, I think he's either got a hyphen in between or a space. But yes, Dame Funk. If you never listened to a Dame Funk record, you are missing out. And he came back once again in 2020 during the pandemic, right on time, honestly, with Down to the Lowest Terms, the Soul Sessions, and Joys of Love was the lead single. And it doesn't sound gospel-y, but the message is absolutely gospel. These are the joys of love and the joys of life. Like, the video is cool because it's Steve in the studio with his production team, and there's like different families, holding babies, walking in the park, having on a bright sunny day, having a grand old time. And Steve Arrington deserves a ton of credit for creating gospel groove, in my opinion. I mean, honestly, I think that goes to the Clark sisters, honestly, because we all know the story about how Twinkie found the chords from Stevie's Master Blaster and turned them into You Brought the Sunshine In. So I think maybe Twinkie Clark deserves that credit, but Steve Arrington also, played a major role in gospel groove, in my opinion. Like, there's just something about those records that I mentioned that just make you feel like everything's going to be cool. I'm going to have a good time. I mean, I'm still going to hope that whoever is up there overseeing this works it all out, but I'm not going to sit here and just worry myself to death about it either. So that's the beautiful thing about stuff like, Joys of Love, Nobody Can Be You, Dancing in the Key of Life, and Feel So Real. Like, those are 4 foundational records, in my opinion. I mean, they're probably Steve Arrington's legend records. I mean, it's probably Weak at the Knees is still the one. I mean, or even his lead vocal on Just a Touch for Slave. I mean, Steve Arrington has a career that is very, very interesting, and more people should interview him about it. I would like to interview Steve Arrington about his career, by the way. Just saying. But yes, just listen to those records today. Find time, put them on make a quick little playlist on them, and just listen, get the message, and you'll understand why I feel like Steve Arrington is criminally underrated in Black music, because the dude just, for one, on Joys of Love, this record is 5 years old now, but he sounds like Curtis Mayfield so damn much, and it's endearing. It's not like he's trying to copy Curtis. It's not like he's cutting and pasting. He's just, it's natural for him. It is very natural for him. Like, you can listen to Nobody Can Be You But You and feel like that's something Curtis Mayfield would have done, and it wouldn't have been out of place. But Steve Arrington is just a phenomenal singer, phenomenal musician. And again, those records in the mid to early 80s that just had an uplifting message in a time when Black people needed uplifting messages are severely underrated. And I highly recommend you guys go back and visit them. And that's going to do it for day 29 of the BMM 30 series here on the Groove Line. Greatly appreciate y'all for watching and listening as always. Once again, contact information will be in the description below. Don't forget to like and comment on the videos. Once again, we have great comments in the comments section. And don't forget to what else? And don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so this channel can grow. We're having a great June so far. I'll talk about that tomorrow on Monday. Monday ending the month just feels so but we'll get through it. There's still another day of music to talk about for Black Music Month, and I'm very excited to bring it to you. So thank y'all for riding with me on the Groove Line. And until the next time we ride, y'all be good or be good at it.